Welcome back. While Donald Trump travels overseas, Congress remains largely focused on Russia. The head of the House Oversight Committee, Jason Chaffetz, says he plans on talking to fired FBI Director James Comey later today. All of this as we get a better idea of when Comey will testify before a Senate committee. Well, our senior Washington correspondent, Joy Johns, is following all these developments and joins us now. Joy, no doubt President Trump is pretty thankful to be getting a little bit of a break from all of this right now. But there on Capitol Hill, investigators pushing ahead trying to get transcripts and memos from all the discussions related to this case.
Yeah, certainly a search for documentation right now, Linda, and it's all over the Capitol. I think the Senate Democratic leader, Chuck Schumer, led the charge last week on the Senate floor when he called essentially for any documentation of conversations by the president, because his whole point is it's very easy to find out if the president or others in the administration have done anything improper. It's produce the records. So there are a lot of records, obviously, potentially to be produced, including any tapes that the president may or may not have had, any transcripts, for example, of conversations in the Oval Office between Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, and the president, and the Comey memos, which are very important. That, of course, the FBI director's memos that he wrote memorializing his conversations with the president, raising questions about whether the president tried to interrupt or get rid of the investigation. And when Comey didn't get rid of the investigation, essentially the president got rid of Comey.
Yeah, well, one of those discussions, of course, relate to that New York Times article a few days ago, which said that President Trump called Comey a nut job and that firing the FBI director eased pressure on him. And those comments were reportedly made when Russian officials were in the Oval Office, including the foreign minister. And now a leading Republican says the Russians should not have even been invited to the White House.
Senator John McCain over the weekend indicating in his view Sergei Lavrov should not have been in the Oval Office. He called him a human rights abuser. He referred to him as thuggish. He called him a murderer because of all of the other foreign policy issues Sergei Lavrov has dealt with for the Russian government. So John McCain's view is that he should not have been in the Oval Office, and I would be surprised if there aren't some others on Capitol Hill who agree with that. However, what makes John McCain unique is because he speaks with such a loud voice on issues of foreign policy, and he's also a leading Republican on Capitol Hill, Linda.
Yeah, and the Russians, of course, are not too happy with those comments. But by all accounts, looking at the man appointed as a special counsel, former FBI Director Robert Mueller, he has had a pretty long and close relationship with James Comey. Could that be considered a conflict of interest, given that Comey will ultimately be a witness?
This is an issue that has gotten a lot of play, particularly in conservative media, and the line of logic suggests that Comey is a protege, if you will, of Robert Mueller. Mueller is considered a mentor of Comey. Therefore, they're too close. Therefore, that should be disqualifying for Mueller to serve as the special counsel. And part of this certainly goes back to around 2003, 2004, when Mueller, together with Comey, essentially went to the bedside in a hospital of then Attorney General John Ashcroft and convinced him not to sign off on a warrantless wiretapping program that both of them believed to be unconstitutional. Eventually, they won the day, and the Attorney General did not sign off. So they have a long history. It goes back many years. Nonetheless, it presupposes that the investigation that Comey is doing will hinge on his interactions with President Trump. And as we all know, this is a fairly sprawling investigation from the facts that have come from disparate places, and it's really not clear at all that this investigation is going to come down to whether Comey was being honest, truthful, and forthright. There may be many other factors.
Joe, this is certainly causing a lot of chaos in the White House. How is this affecting the administration's ability to govern?
It's difficult for the administration to get any other message out about anything but the investigation, because day after day after day before the president left on this long foreign trip, you'd have a leak, a headline, and the White House would have to respond to things rather than sort of create the message on its own. Also in Capitol Hill, it's a real problem there because legislators find themselves constantly responding to things the president has said, stories coming out of the White House, all having to do with the Russia investigation. And there's a big agenda that President Donald Trump would like to get through that he campaigned on. There's tax cuts. Today, some more of his budget information came out. And it just keeps getting overshadowed. Interestingly, though, I will say, on this foreign trip so far, the president, with all the images coming out of the Middle East, has been able to sort of rise above, if you will, the day-to-day investigation headlines going on back here in the States.
Yeah, no doubt he's savoring those moments. All right, Joe Johns, good to have you with us. A lot to stay across. Thank you very much. Well, it was a deadly weekend on Mount Everest. 4 climbers died while trying to summit the world's tallest mountain. An American, an Australian, a man from India and another from Slovakia. Nepali officials say the deaths appear to be related to altitude sickness and bring the number of fatalities on the mountain so far this season to 6. Well, meantime, veteran climbers claim the Hillary Step, an iconic landmark on Everest, has collapsed. Climbers say the iconic rock face just below the summit may have been damaged in the 2015 earthquake there in Nepal, but authorities insist the step is still intact. Well, on a happier note, an Indian woman set a new record on Sunday climbing Mount Everest for the 2nd time in 5 days. The 37-year-old has 2 children, and this is her 5th time reaching the top of Everest in her career. Quite incredible. Well, the greatest show on earth has taken its final bow. After nearly 150 years, Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus held its farewell performance Sunday in New York. Declining ticket sales and pressure from animal rights groups forced the circus to call it quits. The final show was sold out and live streamed online.
Wow.
Well, that does it here for us at the International Desk. I'm Lynda Kinkade. World Sport is coming up next.